Well, hello, and thank you for stopping by. This is volume 169 of My Prostate is Trying to Kill Me. I'm Mark Graves, just a regular guy fighting prostate cancer, and I'm extremely happy to have you along for the ride, especially today. This is something that I've been trying to do for a while, and just because of scheduling conflicts, it hasn't been able to happen. But I have a very special guest with me today, and this is Denis Finnegan. And Denis has written a book, Prostate Cancer, A Journey of Fear and Hope Told in Plain Language by a Survivor. And I'll show you what it looks like. I got mine at Amazon, and we'll put the link in the description below so that you can get your copy as well. And I guarantee you, by the time this interview is over, you will be going and ordering a copy of this. So Denis, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to be here to be interviewed. I really appreciate that. And what I'd like to do is, if you could, give everybody a synopsis of your life before you started your cancer journey.
Okay, thanks, Mark, and thanks for asking me to do this. My only goal is for us to spread the word to help the next guy, and your work and maybe my book and the support forums are all part of how we can help guys and spouses also. Well, I have a kind of a unique life. I guess we all probably do. I grew up in New York City, and in 1970, I was eligible for the draft, and I decided to join the United States Navy, kind of control my own future. And long story short, I ended up on submarines as a computer technician that worked on weapon systems, and ended up doing 24 years in the United States Navy. Best thing ever happened to me. As a matter of fact, somebody asked me once, "Do you think your prostate cancer is due to submarines?" I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, I did spend some time very close to the nuclear weapons in the missile tube, but I don't think so. Then I retired in '94, went to work for the Hartford Insurance Company. I ran their training for the corporation. Then I taught for a couple of universities, and then 10 years ago, I retired. And now I'm trying to learn golf, and golf is the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. But I love it, and I'm very fortunate. Married, between my wife and I, we have 7 children. I have 5, she has 2. We'll be married 20 years here next year. Life is pretty grand. And then, let's see, 4 years ago, just about this time, I had been seeing a urologist because my primary care had noticed a slight trend upward in my PSA and was smart enough. I mean, I think I went to the urologist when I was at 3.5-ish. Went to the urologist, he did the DRE and some more blood work, and he thought I was nothing of significance. DRE was negative. Went to him for a couple of years, and then it ticked over 4.25. And he pulled down this chart, and I haven't been able to find it, and it showed a probability of cancer based on PSA. And he said, you have a 25% chance of having cancer. And he says, well, you ought to do a biopsy. And I said, sure. Now, I didn't know anything about, I knew I had a prostate. That's it. Didn't know where it was, what it did, nothing. I was to learn that whoever engineered the prostate part of the body, that was the last part they got to engineer, because it was not put in a very accessible place. But this doctor, this urologist, was cutting edge and sent me for a 3T MRI, and actually sent me, he was at hospital A and sent me to hospital B because they didn't have 3T at his hospital. So he was willing to do the right thing by me and not worry about income, charging. And I had a lesion, PIRADS 2 lesion, reasonably small. And so we did a fusion biopsy under anesthesia, which I'm glad to say I enjoyed that. It was a little sleep, and everybody was talking about pain. I was to learn. I had none. Came out with 4 cores of G6, Gleason 6, 2 on each, so 2 in the lesion and 2 outside the lesion. And then I changed. My doctor left the practice, and I went down to Yale for a second opinion. I live in Connecticut half the year and Florida half the year. Went down to Yale, wonderful urologist. They sent my slides to their chief of pathology, and he upgraded 1 to a little bit of 3+4. So less than 5% of the core was pattern 4. And they also ordered a Decipher genomic test. They just did this. They didn't ask me nothing. They just did it. And the Decipher test, on a scale, it's 0 to 1. I was 0.58, which is right on the cusp of intermediate to advanced risk of distance metastasis. And the reason they did the Decipher was kind of a tiebreaker on whether active surveillance was a good option for me. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have done it once I knew I had pattern 4, but this was kind of a piece of data that said, yeah, there's some risk of metastasis, we ought to treat this. And then I went on a 5-month deep dive study of prostate cancer. I went to a conference in California put on by PCRI, which is a wonderful organization. I went to another one upstate New York with a group of people. I read hundreds, if not thousands, of journal articles and a dozen books, and really studied, and started to get to the treatment decision. And at first, I was one of those guys that said, get it out. If I got cancer, I want it out, you know. And then I started to learn about the operation. As a matter of fact, this is kind of funny. I think it's in the book. The urologist at Yale, which was a young man, very nice guy, I had read somewhere that you should ask him how many they have done. So I said, Doc, how many of these procedures have you done? He goes, well, I've participated in 200. And I'm like, participated? What'd you do? Hold the light or something? I mean, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. So I said, okay, since I'm in Florida most of the year, I'm going to have the surgery in Florida. And there's a Dr. Patel in Celebration, Florida, who's pretty renowned, 16 or 17,000 of them, teaches other docs. Yeah, you know, so went down there. And then as fate would have it, or somebody decided I needed a little nudge, I said, well, I got to go check off that radiation box that I've, you know, at least looked into it, even though I had a prejudice against radiation because I had heard about rectal incontinence and I wanted no part of that. That just sounded like I'm a super active guy. I scuba dive, I bike ride, I motorcycle ride, I play golf every day, blah, blah. I go skiing, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to continue to live as normal a life as I could. So I went to this radiation oncologist, and luck of the draw again, I got the chief of radiation oncology to come give me the consult. And he described all the radiation options. And I said, oh, great, doc, I appreciate that. But the frustrating part of prostate cancer for me is nobody says, hey, Dennis, this is the right answer for you, for your individual health, for your type of cancer, for the amount. Nobody says that. They all say, here's a menu, pick something that you like. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not smart enough to do that, even though I had, again, at least 5 months of 4 or 5 hours a day studying prostate cancer. And I said to him, so what should I do? He goes, oh, that's easy. You should do high dose rate brachytherapy as a monotherapy. And I had heard of HDR, but mainly as a combination therapy with like EBRT or IMRT. And so I went home, he described the whole procedure. Kind of funny, I don't think it's why I chose it, but I said to him, Doc, when can I play golf after being treated? He goes, you can play the next day. So I'm a real golf addict. That might have been why I really chose it, but I don't think so. So I went home, my wife and I were kind of thrown a loop now because we were all set on surgery. And now we get this other piece of information and we studied it. I reached out on the cyber world to people I could find, and everybody I found loved the procedure. The write-ups online, one of the nomograms, I think from MSK, Memorial Sloan Kettering, showed it as super effective for, you know, intermediate favorable risk cancer. So I went back and I said to him, I said, Doc, if this is so good, why isn't everybody doing it? As a matter of fact, most people have not heard of it, much less done it. He got a smile on his face. He goes, that's easy. We don't make no money on it. It's only 2 sessions and you're done, compared to 28 sessions or, right. You know. So I opted for that, which was, as I said, 2 sessions, 2 weeks apart. You go under general anesthesia. They put catheters in through the perineum, bring you into a radiation room. They load up the tubes, the catheters. The guy leaves, and then they use a computer to drive the radiation rods in and out of your prostate. They wake you back up, take the catheter, or put you back to sleep, take the catheters out, and as soon as you can urinate, you go home. The first session went picture perfect. The second one, there was a little glitch. First one, I had no pain meds. The second one, I was in pain, and they gave me Dilaudid, which I guess is a reasonably strong pain, and I turned out to be allergic to it. So I had an allergic reaction, which wasn't bad. I mean, it was bad in the moment. I was vomiting and itchy, but what it also caused is I couldn't urinate that day. So they sent me home with a catheter. Next morning, they took it out. At my high, my PSA was 5.7 and is now 0.3 for the last 3 readings. So I'm probably at nadir. That's probably going to be my new norm. And my last meeting, which was a couple of months ago with the RO, he said, and I don't know where he got this from, but he says, there's a 4% or less risk that you will reoccur now that you've gotten to this level of nadir. And that was the other thing I didn't know, is when your radiation is your primary treatment, it can take 3 to 4 years for your PSA to reach nadir. Mine was 3 years, right? Almost 3 years when mine got to 0.3. So now I'm kind of, everything's normal. I have no side effects. All systems work. And then, during that process, I had I don't know, right around 2 3/4 years, I guess it was. I started thinking about, I'm active on social media with prostate cancer, and you see the same story over and over. Oh, I'm confused by the language. I don't know what treatment to choose. So I said, I got this inspiration. Maybe I can write a simple, short book by design that has 2 primary purposes. One, to teach you the language of prostate cancer, from the simple, what's a catheter, to what's brachytherapy. 2, to describe the feelings I think many of us go through during the process. Many men sharing feelings is not an easy thing. So I tried to be as personable as I could in writing how I experience things, the fears, the anxieties, the times of dread, and then times of hope, and then times of, I think it's working, so that was the intent of the book. And every penny from the book profit goes to prostate cancer research. I make no money on it. In fact, my biggest challenge is how do I get it out there? I think I'm going to try to write to like PCRI and say, hey, if I give you my book, can you give it away to people? Because that's my only motive, is how do I get it out there? So if any of your listeners have any creative marketing strategies that I can do that, I'm willing to turn over the manuscript. It's not about me, it's about helping that new guy. And it's been great. A lot of people, you interviewed Lee Burgess on your previous session, and he mentioned the book and a saying in there that I have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me. I didn't write that. I didn't originate that. I found that. I think I credited it to Anonymous, but because I can't find the source of that. But he seemed to get that spark when he actually teared up in your interview when he said that phrase. And boy, if nothing else comes of this book, I'm a satisfied guy right now, just watching Lee having a good moment out of that, because we need to share. We need to learn from each other. We need to just help the next guy, because it's, as I'm sure cancer is a lonely disease if we let it be that way, particularly for men. Remember the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus? In that book, they talk about men like to go in their cave when they have tough feelings, and it's lonely and dark in a cave. And if we can give a guy a voice, give him a way to say, as you know, I run a Zoom support group for prostate cancer that's been going better part of a year now. And we're averaging now about 25, 26 guys and gals, some wives. We had a daughter the other day, and guys are able to cry. They're able to share their fear and I don't know what to do next, and then all of us with our collective wisdom try to share our experience, what we had. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't want to be a medical doctor, but I have some experience, and I can point people to things, and I get great joy out of that. That's And then that's how I met you. We bumped into each other somehow. I don't even know exactly how, but I came across your video series, and I get a great deal out of that. So that's
Well,
kind of my life story.
and I haven't been able to be to as many of those online meetings as I'd like to, just because of my personal
Hmm.
health reasons right now. But the one thing I noticed too is that the way you handle it, the new people always get a chance to say, hi, this is who I am. This is my story. This is how I was there. Everybody's patient. Everybody listens. Everybody pays attention. And then we each get a chance to, if we have something to contribute to the new guy, then we do.
Right.
And
Right.
it's amazing, because at one point we had 26 people on one of the meetings, and that is a ton of information. That's a ton of experience, and from guys who are willing to kindly and share their experience, and tell them. And like you say, we're not pretending to be doctors, and we're not telling anybody this is how you have to do it, or you're an idiot if you choose this. We just say, hey, this is what I did. This is what worked for me. um, it really is an amazing thing, and it does build people up. But as far as the book goes too, like you were talking about, Lee, um, I just get a picture in my mind of when you're originally told that you have cancer, when they deliver that news to you and they say, you're, in my case, it was your stage 3 Gleason 9, and all of a sudden your world crashes. You've just been
Right.
told you have cancer, and you feel so all alone, and you don't know what to do. And it would just be so awesome if they said, hey, you're stage 3, you're a Gleason 9, take the rest of the day and read this. This is your handbook, because it really does, the way it's written. I don't want to say it's simple, but it is
Yeah.
very easy to understand. And the nice thing is, uh, you go through the terminology of everything that's in there. And I think sometimes we forget, because we get used to it, and we just rattle off the terms that when our doctor rattled them off to us, we're like, what? It was Martian to us. It didn't make any sense.
Right.
Now we've heard it so much that we understand it. But the way you've written this, anybody can look up a particular phrase or a particular description and find out what it is. I mean, everything is in here. Every terminology that you would need to know. And then the best part too, well, not the best part, but I think one of the really good parts is the way that you explain that you can take the reins. And like you did, you dove so deep into it with all of the 5 hours a day for months on end, and going to seminars and getting all the information you could. This is a great place for us to start, and then you can move on from there. Plus, too, you're accessible. I mean, that's the greatest thing is you can read this book, and then you can be found on Facebook and the cancer group that's on there. And I got to tell you, you're really approachable. It's interesting to have somebody that has this much knowledge, but yet you're more than willing to share. Like you say, it's not about you. You just want to get the information out there. And so that's one of the main reasons I wanted to do the interview on this, is to let people know about this book and get it out there. And I bought mine on Amazon, and I want to say I'm maybe $13. I mean,
it might have been. It's either 12 or 9. I can't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't very expensive at all. And it's one of those books where you don't want to put it down once you start reading it, especially if you're the one that has cancer. But then it's a good idea to hand it to your mate, hand it to your whoever's providing support for you. Let them read it, and
Right.
kind of helps them to understand a little bit of what you're going through. So now you've been cancer-free or non-detectable.
3.5 years.
Yeah, which is awesome. So how often will they be checking your PSA now?
6 months now, and I think when I get to 5 years, I go to annual.
Okay. And I know for those of us who are still, back fighting this, we call it living 3 months at a time, because
Right.
you have to go for your PSA. Does it change how you feel? I mean, do you feel any more relaxed, or do you still have that tension that we have?
I definitely have the tension, but it's lessening for sure. As a matter of fact, either this past time or the time before, the email came in from the lab that your lab results are ready. And I was doing something, And I said, well, I'll get to that later. And I finished doing whatever I was doing. Then I went and looked at it, and I went, now in the past, I've been hovering over that computer and waiting for the email to come in. You
Yep.
know, I like that saying. It's called prostate specific anxiety. You know, it's like we wait for that, and it's better. I still get a little churn in my stomach. You know, I have to, you know, say a little prayer, be calm, be present. You know, because again, it's out of our control, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
but I definitely, and maybe because I've now had, let's see, what have I had? 9 of them, I guess, that have either declined or stayed steady.
Mm-hmm.
So I never had a bounce, which a lot of people on radiation have, a little dip upward in their PSA. I didn't have that. So, you know, I did have a kind of an anxiety moment the other day. I chatted with a guy who just was reoccurring, and he had the same pathology as me and almost the same treatment as me. So that got my head a little thinking. You know, now he's 1 year into his journey, but that's you know, I don't know about you, but most of the times when I project the future, it's not rosy, it's not good looking. I tend to project negativity and the worst case, and I've always been wrong. I was kidding somebody yesterday about that. I have this propensity to project horrible outcomes. They never occur, so why do I do it? But that's the nutcase that lives up in there, you know. So,
and you talk about that in your book too, about how easy it is to go to the dark place.
Yeah.
That seems to unfortunately be the default for once we've been told that we have prostate cancer. Extremely difficult to sit there and think, you know, yeah, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to beat this. We say it out loud, and we say it to ourselves. But, you know, when it's dark and you're laying in bed at night,
yep,
that's not what, you know, that's not what comes to your mind.
Yeah, what's intriguing is my radiation oncologist at the beginning and throughout uses the word cure when he talks about me. I have a hard time saying that word about me. You know, I don't know if I don't want to be disappointed if I reoccur, or I don't want to jinx it. I don't believe in that really, but you know, it's you know, so the no evidence of disease is kind of that, you know, softer way to say it, you know. But I mean, when I read in the literature, they talk about slow and intermediate cases. Cure is certainly possible, and yet I haven't met many people who will say, "Oh, I've been cured of cancer." You know, it's just not there.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think most of us kind of lean more towards non-detectable or undetectable. You know, so we're not. I think it makes us feel like we're not tempting fate by saying, I'm not saying it's gone. I'm just saying it's asleep, or you know, it's not active right now. So
right.
yeah.
You know, and I'll be 69 in October. So I got diagnosed at 65, and you know, the life expectancy of males from my era is 86, give or take a few months, and 97% of people with my pathology will be alive in 15 years. So if you take 69 plus 15 years, 79, 84. I should be a little more comfortable with I'm on a good road here, but I still have a little tension about it. But I'm feeling better though. I'm way more open now about talking to people about cancer. As a matter of fact, I just one of my other buddies, you met him. He's reoccurred with Gleason 9, and he's been through all the treatments. But we're doing a bike ride to raise money for cancer, one of the local cancer hospitals here in Connecticut, and we're going to ride 65 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I did 30 miles day before yesterday with them, and it was decent. But the 30 is a long way from 65. But
yeah,
I'm going to do it. You know, I have a training plan. Part of my recovery from the diagnosis of cancer is also a psychological recovery. You know, I call it in the book a gut punch, the biggest gut punch you ever got. Yep. I distinctly remember that urologist opening this door. He didn't even sit down. He just said, "You have cancer. Good news is it's caught early." And then I heard nothing after that. He kept moving his lips, but I didn't hear nothing. As a matter of fact, to your point, he should have sent me away with something to read. And let's talk when you've calmed down. So part of my is, take care of myself as best I can, physically, mentally, spiritually. If I can take care of those things, then I'm going to live well today and tomorrow. I don't know about a year from now or 10 years from now, and today is, I like that saying about today is the present. It's a gift, right? Every day we have is a gift. And I have to enjoy that. So like I played golf this morning, and I'm going to go for a bike ride after we're done, and cook dinner for my wife later. And that's the other thing that I think is critically important, and I spend some time in the book about it, is I had a bit of a rude awakening about when I was diagnosed and how I acted the first 3 or 4 weeks after it. What happened to me is my wife happened to be in Hawaii visiting her daughter when I was diagnosed, so I had to call her on the phone to tell my wife. And she had lost her first husband to cancer. So it was probably the hardest phone call I ever made, is to tell my wife that I had cancer. And then she came home, and I became so self-centered, so fearful, so closed down. And so I was getting up at 2 and 3 in the morning to start reading, that I kind of ignored her and her feelings and how my behavior was affecting her. And finally, I was able to slap myself in the back of the head, like, dude, get your stuff together here. I've now, with the support group, I see wives and one daughter come on, and they're as scared as we are, and we can help them, whether it's sharing the news or sometimes not sharing, giving them something to read. But I had to really make sure I pay attention to my wife and my children, all of those around me, because now they're living with this secret, this piece of news that, dad, husband has cancer. And, even though they say it's, one of the better cancers to have because it has, better outcomes, it's still freaking cancer, man. It's not little cancer. It's cancer, And I will say, I'd rather have prostate cancer than some others, but we got to pay attention to how we affect others.
It's true. And it's funny because that's one of the comments I get from my family, is that they tend to forget that I have cancer. And with my wife and I, we don't talk about it every day. It's not a common thing. We did it first, and, there was a lot of, hey, today's a good day. Tomorrow, we'll do it. It's just become, because it's 2 years now, over 2 years for my journey, and we've just sort of absorbed it. And, unless there's something going on, if I'm having a bad day or, because they're there, you have days where your body's just busy fighting cancer and says, I don't want to do anything else today, or the side effects of a treatment, gives you a problem. But, my family does that, and I go, we forgot you had cancer. And that's the way I would rather have it. I don't want to focus on every single day, and there are days I wake up and, I know I have it because I have my morning program that I go through that includes prayer and stretching and meditation and, these kind of things. So I know I have it. I'm reminded of it. But once I come out of my bedroom, then people forget, neighbors, hey, how you doing? Da, 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 da. I saw you washing your car, and, but then a week ago, the ambulance come pick me up, take me to the hospital. So they're all reminded of it again, hey, are you okay? Can we be around you? So when I look at how you live your lifestyle, that's what I would like to be able to mirror. You're active, you golf, you're riding your bike, you're doing all of these things, rather than the way some guys turn it internally and just lose sight of the fact that you're still alive,
Right.
And it's like the title of my channel. Yes, my prostate's trying to kill me, but I'm trying to win,
Right.
So I mean, hats off to you for being able to, and you're a little older than me, to be able to do everything that you're doing. It just makes it fantastic. And I'm so happy to hear too, that you're at your nadir, because once you get to that spot, I think maybe it takes just a little bit of the stress off. That's why I was asking. I have no idea, I'm
for sure.
Yeah, I'm years away from that. But it's funny too, because and especially like in the group when we get on there and everybody's talking, you know, there's just those commonalities that we have where we do live our life 3 months at a time, or,
Right.
you know, depending on if you're getting your Lupron shot or your Eligard, or, you know, your PSA is every 3 months, or, you know, like mine's bumped up to every month now. So I'm going to get it more often. I will tell you that never saying cancer is good, never saying cancer is good, but the changes that have been made in my life since I got diagnosed with cancer, I would have never met you. I would have never met so many people that I've met, and I never would have found this road to follow to try and help people. And I honestly think that by doing what we're doing, by you writing a book that makes such a difference in people's lives, and by me being able to maybe humanize the cancer a little bit, or what you have to go through, you know, these are things that obviously we were put here for, you know.
Right.
So that makes our journey. Like I say, not ever saying that cancer is a good thing, but there's always a silver lining to something.
And what always love your demeanor, your laugh in particular, is like, we have to laugh. You know, we're going to live. And I think you were on the call where we had this whole thing about dude wipes, you know, and we went on, and everybody was laughing, and somebody held up a picture of a box of them. And it's like, yeah, we have cancer, but we still can have a good time.
Right.
You know? And that's important, because when, I'm sure you can remember when you're first diagnosed, it sounded like a death sentence, man. That's what I heard.
Yep.
You know, cancer is a death sentence, and it's not necessarily, you know. And so, you know, we got to laugh, and we do that a lot. You know, we get to know each other. We, you know, and even the new guy, we had the first guy that shared last Wednesday. Now the group's on Wednesday. He was a newly diagnosed Gleason 9 guy. He was pretty frightened, you know, and there was 3 or 4 Gleason 9 guys on the call, and they started talking, and I don't know what caused it. All of a sudden we're all laughing, and, you know, and if anybody had, from an outside, looked at this call and said, all right, these people are talking about cancer and they're laughing, what is wrong with them? You know, and it's what's right with us, you know.
Exactly.
We can be serious, and we have to take harsh medicine sometime, and with treatments, and then we can be fellows, and we can be brothers and warriors, and care about, you know, people, and call on them and send them an email, you know. Yep. So well, yeah, I feel blessed to do this.
And I'll tell you what, this book, like I said, we're going to put the link in the description below on where you can find this on Amazon and get your own copy. And I highly suggest that you do. In fact, I have a couple of friends who were diagnosed, and I'll be sending them copies of it as well. It really is, from having the start of it to where, like Dennis says, it's a gut punch. And then he'll take you through the whole gambit of not just the medical terms, not just, you know, this is what to expect, this is what to look for, these are the treatments you'll get, but the emotional part of it too, and how you feel, you know, being alone at night. And the part where Dennis talks about having to make that phone call to his wife in Hawaii, you probably won't be dry-eyed through that one. I can't imagine what that must have been like. But an amazing book. And, you know, like Dennis said, it's not about him. It's not about making money off of this. All of the profits go back into prostate cancer research. But it is about getting this into the hands of people who, and I was 2 years into my journey before I read this book, and I benefited like crazy out of this. So I can imagine what it would be like for somebody that, you know, yesterday their urologist told them, hey, I'm sorry, but you got cancer, you know, and to be able to read this book. So it is amazing. Dennis, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, buddy.
And
there is a Kindle version too. So if people are e-readers,
true,
they don't have to get the physical book. I appreciate you making the offer to chat about the book and our journey together, buddy.
No worries at all. And I think people will really, you know, benefit from this, and not just the guys, but their support people, you know, that are with them too. So I really appreciate that. But for those of you who are new to the channel, if you'd like to follow along on this journey, feel free. Click on the subscribe button below, hit the little bell, and it'll notify you every time a new video has been posted on here. If you enjoyed the video, if you like it, give me a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm, and the more that we can get the algorithm to roll, then the easier it is to find us when people search for prostate cancer on YouTube, and the easier these videos will be to find, and then the more people we can help. And that's our aim in doing this. So again, Dennis, thank you very much for being there. I appreciate it. You guys, thank you for all of the prayers, the positive vibes, the good thoughts, the aloha, the shaka, everything you send our way. We appreciate it. And don't ever think that we're not praying for you as well, too. We're sending it right back to you guys. So watch, let's see, what was this? This was 169, getting close to 200 videos. And I thank you guys for being there. So I'll see you on the next one.